Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Buddyfight deck profile video. So today I'm going to be focused on the Darkness Dragon World deck of Curse Dragons. So Curse Dragons, for those who don't know, the core gimmick of the deck is to put cards underneath the opponent's flag. You get extra benefits for doing so on a lot of your cards, and then once your opponent has 15 or more cards underneath their flag, then you will basically auto-win the game. With Buddy Ragnarok, they definitely got a lot of new and powerful tools to make the deck even faster than it was originally. So going over the new cards, first up we have Assault of Silvermoon, Gale Luna, which basically he has an enter ability that allows you to search for a Cursed Dragon with set from your deck or drop zone and then add it to your hand. So being able to search out your sets is very important because you will use a slew of different sets, so being able to have another card to tutor them out is very good. And then he has the added benefit of, at the start of your opponent's turn, if a card is under the opponent's flag, then you gain 3 life, and if they have 8 or more cards underneath the flag, then you also get to draw a card, and then he's got move. So he's just looking to be a really powerful card. Not only does he search, but he also will help give you some life and card draw on top of that. Next, we have the new Impact that they got, which is also a set card. So Curse Count is a set impact where if a Cursed Dragon monster is on your field, damage you take is reduced by 1. So that's just a pretty good blanket effect, but the effect you're really going for is at the end of your turn, put up to 2 cards from your opponent's deck underneath their flag. So obviously the whole idea is to put cards underneath the opponent's flag as fast as possible, and having multiple copies of these out not only will help reduce the damage you take, but it will also increase the amount of cards you're putting underneath the opponent's flag. Next up, we have Disaster Palace. So this is in the Revival Buddy side of Buddy Ragnarok, and it's still a pretty insane card for the deck. So what it's doing is counter, you get to draw a card and then choose one of the following 2. Either stand all items on your field, or for this turn, all cards on your opponent's field can't link attack. The card draw and standing our item up definitely does impact the deck, and I'll get to that when I get to the item. And then the last new card that they get is Lite of Destiny. So what it does is you get to put the top card of your deck into your gauge, and then you get to add 1 monster with Gale or Abigail with 2 crit or less from your deck into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So obviously we're not really going to be playing any Abigails in the deck that follow the requirements, but we are going to be using Gale, and we do have 2 different Gales that this can search, so that means it is a pretty good card to have, on top of which it is gaining us a gauge, and the deck does eat up a lot of gauge rather quickly. So anywhere we could spare some extra gauge gaining is still going to be a good thing, and all of this is free. There is no cast cost to this card, so it's just an absolutely insane card for the deck. And then as far as the rest of the deck, it's just going to be your standard Cursed Dragon deck. It's not really doing anything too different or special than it hasn't been doing outside of the new cards. So Black Dragonite Gale is pretty good because when he enters, he gets to destroy a card on the opponent's field if they have a card under their flag. And then he also has the added benefit of when he's destroyed, you could pay 1 life and put this card from your drop zone back into your hand and add a card underneath the opponent's flag from the top of their deck. So obviously he's one of the big ways in which you want to get cards underneath their flag. So the whole idea is to play him, sack him off, put a card underneath their flag, play him, sack him off, rinse and repeat. Next we have Black Dragonite Arbol. So Arbol is basically the Garcat of the deck. When the card enters the field, you basically get to gain a life and gain a gauge, and then if the opponent has a card underneath their flag, you also get to draw a card. So very simple yet very effective card. Next we have Black Dragonite Lzam. So Lzam is basically our other set searcher. So you can only call him once per turn, which is pretty unfortunate, but that's why we have the new Gale. And then when this card enters the field, you basically get to discard a card from your hand and either tutor out a size 1 curse monster or a curse spell with set from your deck and add it to your hand. So it has a little bit of different restrictions and requirements, but nonetheless, you're going to be searching for your set because we already have Gale to help search out some of our other sets, and we already have enough cards to where we don't really need to search out our size 1 curses, but that is also definitely a good option to have. And then the last monster of the deck is going to be 4th Omni Lord Burnova Rebuddy. He basically is in there to buy you an extra turn because his ability is absolutely insane, where you basically are untouchable for the turn that he's played. So that way, if you have any curse counts set, then you basically just buy yourself a turn, and then you could probably win off of the next turn because of just the sheer amount of cards that they can put underneath the flag in a single turn, especially if any cards are currently on the field. Next up, we have the item, Black Dragon Sword Geilblade. So this is the card that gives all of our Cursed Dragon cards on the field the basic protections, so can't be destroyed, can't be bounced, can't be nullified. And then it has the added benefit of you can pay 1 gauge and rest this card to basically put the top card of the opponent's deck underneath their flag, and if they have 2 or more cards under their flag, then you get to draw a card. So this combo is really nice with Disaster Palace because we could use its ability twice because the ability isn't locked once per turn. So as an example, we could use the ability, pay 1 gauge, rest it, put the top card in under their flag, then Disaster Palace, draw a card, stand it, pay 1 gauge, do it again, draw a card off of Geilblade, and then continue doing whatever else you're doing. So it's just looking to be a very good card in combination with Disaster Palace, on top of which it's another card to put cards underneath the opponent's flag. And now on to the spell package. So I'm going to be running 100 Demon Sorcery Death Sacrifice as a way to destroy Gale and draw some cards in the process. Underration is a card to put a Cursed Dragon monster from our drop zone to our hand, and then it also gains us some life and some more gauge. For the future is another card to gain us some gauge, and we also get to look at our gauge and put a monster from among them into our hand, so a little bit of hand fixing. We're not really going to be using the Jackknife or Abigail effect, but we're just using it to fix our hand and gain some more gauge. Curse Light is in there as another way to destroy Gale, on top of which it has one of 2 options. You could either gain 4 life, which I don't necessarily think is that useful, but the more useful part is you get to put the top 3 cards of your deck into your gauge. So obviously the deck is going to use a lot of gauge, so gaining gauge is always a good thing. Next we have Devil Stigma, so another card to destroy Gale, and on top of that it gains us 2 gauge and 1 life. Curse Sentence is one of the most important cards in the deck because it is how we win the game. So it's our primary set spell in which it can't be destroyed and it can't be returned to hand. And then at the start of the opponent's turn, we get to put the top card of the opponent's deck under their flag, and if the opponent has 15 or more under their flag, then we win the fight. So this is just how we're winning the game, on top of which it's another card to put cards underneath the opponent's flag. Next up, we have Curse Field, which is another set spell, and basically all it's doing is when a card is put under the opponent's flag, we get to gain a gauge and draw a card. Pretty solid. And then at the start of each player's attack phase, we can call a size 1 Cursed Dragon from our drop by paying its call cost. So the good part about this card is that it is during each player's attack phase, and we don't necessarily have to always add the original Gale back into our hand, or if we need to, we could utilize some of our other Cursed Dragons. So it's just a very high utility card given the current options we have available to us. Next up, I'm running Recover Veil because we need some hand protection because we do tend to draw and engage a lot, and on top of which, if we really need to, we could use its ability to gain some extra gauge at counter speed, and paying the life to prevent us from discarding isn't that big of a deal because the deck also has a good amount of life gain to it. Next, I'm running Buddy Block because it's Buddy Block. It's one of the best defense spells in the game, Next up, we have Curse Ritual. So Curse Ritual is another way to destroy our Gale, and for destroying our Gale, we gain 2 life and draw 2 cards, and then if the opponent has 2 or more cards underneath their flag, we get to draw a 3rd card off of it. So more card draw, more life gain, and another way to destroy Gale, doing basically everything the deck wants to be doing. And then the last card in the deck is going to be Grace of the Sun Deity, because it's Grace of the Sun Deity. It just protects a card from any form of destruction, on top of which, if we are afraid that the opponent is able to actually burn us out, then Grace of the Sun Deity also will prevent that burn damage. So that's it for the main deck. I know I'm running 55 cards instead of the normal 50. I just felt like with how much the deck is gauging and drawing and going through itself, that 55 cards is almost needed for the deck. You could probably get away with 60, but I felt 55 was that sweet spot. And at 50, I was just running out of deck too quickly, and if I didn't kill my opponent off of my alternate win condition, then I would just lose due to sheer deck out. But being at 55, it definitely opens up the ability to play a little bit more cards than what you normally would, and there's definitely a lot of other decent options to go inside of Curse Dragon. So one of them is in the form of one of the other new cards that they got, which is Curse Grip. Curse Grip is another card to destroy a Curse Dragon on our field, so another Gale destruction target. And then for doing so, we get to choose a card on the opponent's field and destroy it. And then if there are 6 cards under the flag, we get to put the card we're destroying under the opponent's flag instead of destroying it. So that's just a really solid ability, because if they don't have any anti-destruction or anti-remove from the field, then this just adds an extra card underneath the opponent's flag. Then Chronos Reverse is a pretty good option because it is the Spell Null in Darkness Dragon World. Demolition Bite is a way to just board wipe every monster on the field, and we really only care about destroying our monsters because we just really want to destroy our original Gale, so that way we could add him back and play him again. Emblem of the Omnilords is a pretty good option if you want to search out Burn Nova, on top of which it has the ability to rest a size 2 or less on the opponent's field. But obviously you just want to use it to search out Burn Nova. Daryl Burke is in there because he's just Daryl Burke. You mainly just use him to help fish for cards. Daredevil Crimson because he is a very solid auto-revive card with his Overturn ability. Claw is in there because he definitely has a little bit of synergy in combo with another card to basically help set up the top card of our deck, and the card that we'd be using to combo with him would be Curse Destruction, because we would set a Gale on top of our deck, then play Curse Destruction, reveal the Gale, and then put the top 3 cards of our opponent's deck under their flag. That's, for the most part, it for the Curse Dragons deck. I think Curse Dragons is a pretty solid deck. Yes, they did lose Overturn Abigail, which did hurt the deck quite a bit because Overturn Abigail would buy us an additional turn, so it just made getting 15 cards under the opponent's flag that much easier. But even without Overturn Abigail, it's still a very solid deck, and it can still do some pretty solid work. That's it for this video. As always, I'll have the deck list in the description below. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions or thoughts about the deck, or just want to leave a comment in general. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content, and I will see you in the next video.